Good morning, Otherworldlies. This is Juliana Angel, your Dark Mask Diva. How's everyone doing? So, after all that talk about loyalty, after all those Bozo stories, after all that keeping it real talk, are you real? All that kind of stuff, I remembered a story. Okay, you know how I'm talking about that Bozo who was like this wannabe gangster and all this kind of stuff, and how he's keep asking me about if I'm real and all this kind of stuff, and he didn't know what he was talking about? I remember this really funny story. Okay, check this out. Okay, you know how you're supposed to just kind of get rid of all the trash out of your life, right? Get rid of all the trash out of your life. Get rid of all the bozos, get rid of all the harlots, get rid of all the trash. Get rid of all these people, right? You're going to get a confirmation that you did the right thing by getting these miscreants, these pieces of garbage out of your life. You're going to be so glad that you got these people out of your life, and sometimes it's going to be a little bit on the funny side. Okay, this cracks me up. I can't believe that I didn't remember this. So this is going to be kind of like a story time. Okay, so I finally got the Bozo out of my life, and it took a while. And the thing is, when you have like Bozos and problematic people in your life, sometimes it just takes a long time to get rid of them. When you have problematic, like, females in your life, sometimes you can get rid of them real quick. But when you have a problematic Bozo in your life, sometimes you have to involve the cops, or sometimes you have to have someone kind of beat them up, or sometimes you have to really kind of go the distance and take a few extra steps. There's sometimes you really just have to do a few extra things. So I had to do a few extra things just to kind of get rid of that Bozo, and he was really problematic. So if you have Bozos, you might have to do a few extra steps. Like, I've had more than one Bozo, and I had to take extra steps because they really don't want to leave you alone. Once they attach themselves to you, if you're some kind of shining star, Bozos don't want to leave you alone. I mean, because they really are losers, and they'll attach themselves onto good women. They just don't want to go away. They really don't. So if you have a Bozo orbiting you, you really gotta it's going to take a few extra steps. It's going to be worth it, but it's going to take a few extra steps. But I really just want to go and get to the funny part, okay? But it was really, it was a pain to get rid of that Bozo. I mean, it's, one of the best things I did, but I was a young girl. I didn't realize what a problem he was going to be. He was really, oh my gosh, dude. So, the Bozo was in my life when I was like 18. 17, turning 18, okay? So I was a young girl, okay? So, I mean, you can't blame me for not knowing better, all right? But I had it going on, I had things going on in my life. So by this time, I was 19, right? And so I'm just like chilling at my house or whatever, because I still lived with my parents, and I get this phone call, and my friend Catherine's on the phone. She's like, "Girl, come to my house." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Just come to my house." And I'm like, "All right," so I'm like, "Mom, Dad, I'm going to Catherine's house." And they're like, "Okay," So I go to my friend Catherine's house, and she's like, because she said, "There's somebody here I want you to meet," right? Keep in mind that the Bozo kept trying to claim that he was in this gang, okay? Now, it's a famous California gang, and I'm not going to say what it is because it's a famous California gang. And he kept claiming that he's in this gang, okay? I'm from California, okay? So he kept claiming he was in this gang and talking about it all the time and using all the slang terms that this particular gang uses and all this kind of stuff, right? So he kept claiming he was in this gang or whatever. But I never saw him like wear the things that this gang wears, okay? And if you're from here, you kind of know what they wear. and he never seemed to be wearing the things that they wear, or hanging out with other people who were in the gang. So I'm like, okay, but you say you're in this gang, and talking about being real all the time, and I'm like, that's kind of weird, but okay. So I come to her house, and there's these gangsters from that gang in her house, and I'm like, oh, okay, what's up, right? And they're like, what's up? So I sit down, and she introduces me to all these dudes. Then she introduces me to them by their gang names. So I'm like, hey, and they're like, hey. And they're like, so do you know a guy named blah, blah, blah? It's the Bozo. I'm like, yeah. Unfortunately, yes, I do. Like, what do you think of him? And I go, I think he's a real schmuck. And they go, what's a schmuck? I go, like a joke, like a clown. And they all start laughing. They're like, that's what we think of him too. And so we just kind of look, and this one guy goes, you're fine. I go, thanks. They're like, what are you doing messing with him? I go, I wasn't exactly trying to. I go, he was just hanging around me, and I just kept trying to drop him like a bad habit, but he just kind of wouldn't go away. You know what I'm saying? They're like, yeah, we know what you're saying. Yeah. And they kind of laugh, And they're like, so he just kind of kept hanging around you? And I go, yeah, he just kept hanging around me and trying to be my man, and like I couldn't get rid of him, you know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, we know what you mean. And they kind of look at each other, and they're all kind of nodding. And they're like, so what was really going on there? And I go, well, I had to kind of break up with this guy that I was really in love with because he had to move to the Bay Area. And they're like, oh, that's far away. And I go, yeah, that's far away. And I go, a long distance relationship really isn't a relationship. And they're like, you're right. And I go, yeah. I go, so I'm really just sad because I miss the guy that I really love. And I go, but this guy just wouldn't leave me alone. And he just kept hanging around and hanging around and hanging around. I go, so... They go, so, this dude. I go, yeah, this dude. I go, they go, what did he say about our gang? I go, I know all about your gang. I go, he's trying to say he's in your gang. They go, do you think he's in our gang? And I said, no. And they started laughing. And they go, you're right. I go, yeah, but he tries to act like a gangster, like he keeps talking about being real, and he keeps trying to talk like he's in a gang and talking about loyalty and being down and all this. And I go, I know he's not down with you guys. And they go, you're right, he's not down with us. And they go, first of all, he's not black. And I go, right. And I go, and I'll tell you another thing. I go, I know you guys are out of Compton. I go, he's not even from California. Did you guys know that? And they just started laughing, right? And I go, and I know he's not hard enough to join your gang. And they go, right again. And they're like, see? And they kind of looked at my friend, and they're like, see, she knows. She knows he's just a poser. He's a wannabe. I go, so what was going on? I go, so you ran into him? And they're like, yeah. So we're just doing whatever. We're at the park doing whatever. I go, just sitting around the park, right? They're like, yeah. And he comes walking up, and he's trying to hang out with us, and he's trying to talk all this stuff. I go, yeah, he does talk all that stuff. And they're like, he does. He's trying to talk like he's down. I go, he does. He just talks a lot of stuff. And they're like, yeah. And he tries to talk about the gang he was in when he lived in blah 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 place. And he just tries to, impress us and say all this stuff. And I go, and I'm sure none of it was true. And they go, we're sure none of it was true. And so I'm sitting there laughing with these gangsters and everything like that. And they're like, how did you get mixed up with him? And I go, you guys don't understand. He wouldn't leave me alone. Okay? And they go, okay, well, you have our protection. He'll leave you alone now. And I go, well, I certainly do appreciate that. And I go, I don't want to have anything to do with him. And we all in this room understand that, right? And they're like, well, yeah, we can see why you don't want to hang around him. You know, you obviously don't like him. And I go, I really don't. I go, I don't, never really liked him in the first place. He's a clown. He's a schmuck, you know? And they're like, yeah, he's a joke. And I'm like, he is. And so, and so my friend goes, I explained that to him, that he was this and that and the other, and he was always telling these stories, and he was always, that, you know, you were always trying to get rid of him, and he was always hanging around and walking you everywhere and doing all this stuff and bothering you when you were talking to modeling agents, and people were like, is that dude your bodyguard, or like, what's up with that dude? I go, he was doing nothing but embarrassing me all the time. And they're like, yeah. And they go, he was sitting with us, and she goes, he even tried to come over here and kick it with all of us. And I was like, to your house? And she goes, yes. And he came in with them because he saw them come over here. And she goes, he came into my house and he started talking about you. And I go, talking about me? And they're like, yeah, and he's trying to like get back with you. I go, he's trying to get back with me? And everyone's like, yeah. And the gangsters are like, oh yeah, he doesn't stand a chance. I go, no, I'd never really wanted to be with him in the first place. And they're like, this is crazy. I go, he's a clown. He lives in a dream world. My dad wants to kill him. They're like, I bet your dad wants to kill him. I'm like, nobody likes him. They're like, we don't like him. And I go, so I don't know what the deal is. They're like, and my friend goes, he's not welcome in here. He just tried to follow them into here, and we all figured out he's that same guy that you were telling us about. And I go, yeah, he thinks he can be in your gang. And they're like, he can't. And I'm like, I bet, you know. So we're sitting around. I go, but he'll try to talk all this gangster rhetoric. He'll try to say, you know, ask everybody if they're real. He doesn't know what being real is. And they just all started laughing and laughing and laughing, right? They're like, this is so funny. I go, dude, I bet he's never gangbanged. And they're like, he acts like he never has. They're like, we know he's never done anything. And if he has, it's been some small time stuff. And they're like, are you about that life? And I go, no. I go, I'm just a regular person. I'm not interested in any of that. Okay? I go, I don't party. I don't do anything. I go to school and I go to work. I go, you know, I just want to live a normal life. I really, no offense, but I don't want any part of this. I mean, I just want to chill, you know. I know he's a joke. I know he's not about that. He's not about anything I'm about. I go, he's not about anything you guys are about. And I can tell. And I'm not even in your lifestyle, and I can tell he's not about anything you guys are about. And they're just kind of nodding, like, they're like, see, I go, look, guys, I'm a total square, okay? But I know he's not doing anything you guys are doing. I mean, come on. And they're like, and they're just shaking their head, and they're like, yeah, they're like, this, you know, this dude, they're like, this dude is a joke, and they're like, what is that, a schmuck? He's that too, you know? And so we're just sitting there kind of laughing, and we're all just doing like a round robin where we're all just like capping on this dude, like, man, you know, you see, you know, that tracksuit he wears, and I go, you know, his gold chains, I go, they're all fake. And so then they all started laughing, and I go, and the stuff he says, I go, he repeats what other people say, and I go, he doesn't have anything original to say. He repeats everything he hears from rap songs, and everyone starts laughing. I go, he doesn't have anything to say, you know, that's of any. He'll repeat something that he heard a rapper say, or that he heard somebody say. I go, he doesn't even know what any of it means. I go, I'll know what it means before he does, you know. And like, I'm a square white chick, you know. And they're like, yeah, but they go, you're kind of from the hood, like, you kind of get it. They're like, he's just stupid, you know. I go, yeah, he is, you know. And I go, he's just, I don't know, he's just, you know. They're like, you're from here. I go, yes, I'm from here. They're like, yeah, because you have the same accent. They go, he doesn't even have the same accent the rest of us have. They go, you have our accent. He doesn't have our accent. I go, right. They're like, you're from here, huh? And I said, yes. And they're like, see, he does not fit in here. So we all just kind of, I go, I think he's just one of those people who's trying to belong. And what he knows, I think what he knows about gangs and gangsters and all that kind of stuff, he's not from the neighborhood, okay? It's stuff he sees in the movies and stuff like that, okay? You know, and that's what he's getting, and he's not, he's just dumb, you know? He's like, you know, I'm calling people bozos nowadays, but we didn't say bozos back then. I go, he's just a schmuck, you know, that's a word from my family, is schmuck. Okay, that's, you know, basically Yiddish for bozo. He's a bozo, you know? He's a bozo. So, anyway, that was my whole thing. And if you're wondering if I got the gangsters to do something to him, no, I did not. The last thing you want to do is be affiliated with a gang. Okay? You don't want to owe any gangsters a favor. You want to be on the good side of gangsters. Trust me, you do. You don't want to be their enemy. Okay? You don't want to be gang affiliated. But from then on, I was just kind of like, I told my friend, look, don't bring a gangster party to my house. If my parents are throwing a party because I live at home, don't bring a bunch of gangsters over to my house. I mean, you know, I'm cool with these guys. They're cool, but I really don't want to be, like, hanging out with gangsters and stuff like that. But, I mean, those guys are, you know, they're okay. And we had laughs and stuff, but I don't... And they're a very famous Southern California gang, and they're a huge gang. So I don't, like, want a bunch of gangsters in my life, please. Even though I got along with him, I'm just like, I really don't want that kind of like static in my life, please. You know, so they, as far as I know, they did not do anything to him, but they all thought that he was pretty stupid. They all thought he was a schmuck as well, and we all kind of had a laugh at his expense, and you know, they thought he was a big joke, and they were glad I thought so too. And they were just kind of like, they're like, yeah, so you basically were trying to get rid of him the whole time. And I said, yes. Yes. You know, I couldn't make any business deals around him. I couldn't work. I couldn't do, you know, I couldn't walk anywhere without him trying to walk me all the time. And they're like, yeah, he was trying to keep other guys away from you. And I go, yes. And he was trying to keep opportunities away from me. And he was just trying to annoy me. You know, he was in my way. You know what I mean? Like, some people, when you're with somebody, okay, in like a relationship or whatever, that person is supposed to pave your way to success, right? When you're with someone, they're supposed to pave your way to success, whether they're a male or a female, all right? They're supposed to help open doors to your success. They're not supposed to be in your way. They aren't supposed to be embarrassing you, okay? So this guy, all he was doing was just embarrassing me. You know, I try to talk to people who could do something for me in my future. He would just be in the way, hovering all the time. You know what I mean? And, you know, I'd be talking to modeling agents, and I speak a foreign language, and these modeling agents usually spoke the same foreign language I did. Thank God, because the bozo didn't speak that language. So we'd be speaking that language, and the bozo didn't know what we were saying. And they'd say, who's this guy? And I would be like, don't worry about that guy. I'm going to get rid of him. Don't worry about him. You know, and they're like, oh, okay, good. You know, and then we would just keep going. Like, don't worry about him. He's just, you know, he's just somebody irritating. We're like, oh, okay, good. I go, he's of no consequence. Don't worry about him. You know, but it was so nice to finally get rid of that bozo. And so if you have somebody hanging around you who is getting in the way of your success, that person is a bozo or a bozette. Trust me, they're not loyal. They're getting in your way. And hopefully you're going to run into, if the bozo's trying to tell you that there's something, and then you run into real people who are actually that thing, those real people are going to tell you that the bozo is not what they say they are, and you're going to laugh. It was funny. I mean, I'm going to keep it real. I was a little scared of those gangsters. Like, I was like chill and just kind of talking to them, but I mean, that was a little intimidating. It was intimidating because they're a huge gang. They're a huge Southern California gang, and just talking to a few of them, I'm just kind of like, you know, because I knew the bozo wasn't one of them. So, but that was funny to just kind of talk to them, and you know, because they were all armed and everything, and they were like legit gangbangers. It was scary. So, and I told my friend, why do you have all these thugs in your house, girl? What are you doing? For reals. But I appreciate, you know, you getting me this audience, but yeah, this was crazy, but it was really funny at the same time. But yeah, the bozo actually ended up leaving the state soon after that. So I don't know if those gangbangers like had a word with him and were saying, stop telling people you're in our gang or something. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, or, you know, they had a word with him like, we met the chick who you're trying to get back together with, and she said she wants nothing to do with you. I kind of hope, you know, and she kind of had a laugh, or, you know, I kind of hope they said something to him, but yeah. So hopefully that bozo that was crazy, but that's funny. That was funny to actually talk to real people from that gang and have them tell me that they met him and describe him completely, and have my friend go, yeah, that dude actually came over here too. And I was like, she described him completely, and I'm just like, that's him. That's the schmuck. That is totally him. I just wish he would leave town, and he finally did, thank God. He finally left town. The whole area. Yep. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Anyway, that's my story. I just wanted to share it with you guys. It was hilarious. And so hopefully if you guys have a bozo, the bozo will leave town. And maybe some gangsters will you know, tell him off or something. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you in the next one, and hopefully have some other story to tell you. And you guys have a good one, okay? I love you all, other worldies. Bye-bye.